This is Alex Hormozi and he is killing it across socials. And if you're an established founder or an expert who's great at what you do but still feels weirdly invisible online, and you've looked at people like Alex thinking, how do I build that kind of pull without burning myself out, then this is for you. And no, it's not just because of all of the solid business advice that he gives. It's the things that most people completely miss when it comes to building a powerful movement and knowing what it actually takes to step into becoming what I like to call a magnetic market leader, and what it truly takes to be able to profit like Alex Hormozi. Now, I'm fascinated by people like Alex who don't just have big followings, but kind of a pull you can feel. Now, Alex's main goal is to make free business content for business owners who are at $0 to $3 million a year, so that those companies can take that advice, grow to 3 million and beyond, so that him and his wife Layla, through acquisition.com, can invest in these businesses. They want to make a huge dent in the business education world, and they are well on their way. And this isn't a tribute video to Alex. I want to use him so that by the end of this video, you'll see what it actually takes to make a founder magnetic. And also you'll understand the layers that you'll need to build into your personal brand in a way that fits you, like I do for my clients. Just within the past few years or so, Alex's follower count has grown from almost zero across his main platforms to an audience of over 11 million. Again, not just because of the sheer value he drops, it's because you can smell through the screen, or if you've met him in person, that he actually cares about what he's doing. He's shared his struggles and how he doesn't want other people to fall into those same traps. He literally started off by saying that I make these videos because most people are broke and I don't want you to be one of them. And his mission further solidifies this, to make real business education accessible to everyone. And so he didn't get to the millions of followers because of hacks and tricks. It's because he's doing the one thing that most people have no idea how to do. And I want to share this genius behind what he's doing so that you can apply elements of this to your personal brand as well. And by the way, I'm Goldfraz, founder of the Magnetic Founder Engine. I make it easier for established founders and experts to build a magnetic personal brand that attracts premium clients with peace and purpose. Now, the people who've been able to unlock longevity in their personal brands all have the strongest foundation. So let's start here. This is the foundation that they laid before they stood in the spotlight. The personal truths that shaped them. And quite frankly, this is the thing that most people just want to skip or hide. But by doing that, we literally hold ourselves back. Just take a look at this clip.
It was tough. I'll catch my breath. So the sacrifices that I encourage people to take are not sacrifices I did not make. I had a lot of pain. And so I tried to use it. I just used what I had. I was just angry. I didn't want to fail. And so I just kept going. And so there was there just wasn't another option.
Looking at Alex's powerful and really intentional storytelling, I'd realized that he's truly lived his life with the intention of telling his story one day. It's like he's been one step ahead of himself. From the screenshots of his bank account when he lost everything, to the stories of how his wife told him that she'd sleep with him under a bridge if it came to that, to the picture of his duvet and pillow on the gym floor, to the photographs outside of acquisition.com headquarters. Every single thing he recorded, he wrote down, he took a picture of. And this is one of the things that most people miss. It wasn't just an accident, like, oh well, what do you know, I have this photo of us posing in the car working from our laptops. He did it with knowing himself first, the journey he was on, and with the intention that he wants to share it with the people that need him the most one day. Not only does this add credibility for his audience to take him seriously, it's tied to a very visceral, raw and a personal struggle that he's going through. He's amassed these followers because he's not giving off this see-through cookie cutter fluff that most people come online and talk about. This is what makes his very common journey in business so unique and powerful. And he's been able to do this because he's spent time on understanding what he wants and why he wants it. Because the truth is, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And as it said, when you're clear on your why, the hows take care of themselves, and it's very evident with him. His story shows exactly that.
By chance, I went to a weekend workshop 2 weeks before I started the gym, and it was this guy who was teaching something called Facebook ads. This is 2013. So I was like, talk about stroke of luck, crazy, coincidence.
How this invisible force of him just knowing his why, he just rode those waves of opportunity, even when he thought he was in his lowest moments. And there's such a strong reason why Socrates said that knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Because without knowing yourself, you're just living by somebody else's plan instead of your own. And that means not being able to reach your own true, unbound potential. And in my opinion, that's a sad existence because I've been there myself. For me, that looked like 11 years in a law firm, being great at my job, closing over 20,000 warm leads in that time, while slowly burning myself out and shrinking my own voice, ignoring myself. It took family breakdowns, debt, a motorbike accident for me to finally stop living by other people's plans and start believing in myself. So writing down your hero's journey, as it's called, is the key to knowing yourself. And look, I'm not preaching here, I'm still doing this work myself, but what I've noticed with founders especially is that they get this the wrong way around. They chase the have first, things like more money, more followers, more clients. Then they try to force the do with things like tactics and hacks. And then they hope one day that they will finally feel like the kind of person who deserves it. But Alex did the opposite. He worked on who he was being first, things like his values, his standards, his story, his beliefs about work and wealth. And from that place, the doing became clear and the having followed. And that is what knowing yourself really means in practice. Be, then do, and then have. This is the first pillar of what I build with clients inside the Magnetic Founder Engine. We get your identity and your story straight, then we engineer your offer, then we build the content and systems around that. Every established founder who tries to skip this ends up in another misaligned season. And I just want you to understand that the longer that you wait in life to do this, the more layers you have to dig through to actually get to your truth. Alex did this fairly early on in his life. So if you are really serious about making an impact with your story, it's very, very important for you to radically love yourself and approach yourself with an unconditional sort of a love. Because only when we do that, will we accept our story and accept ourselves for who we are. And after all, if we can't love ourselves, then how on earth can we expect the people who need us the most to do so as well? Radically loving yourself will allow you to provide radical value to your audience and therefore enabling you to be able to profit radically as well. And shameless plug, by the way, that's one of the things that we established inside the Magnetic Founder Engine. Documenting with awareness, not what we think we need to say. Now let's move on to the discipline of authenticity. This term gets thrown around so much and it's so misunderstood in my opinion. The thing with Alex is that he doesn't fall into this trap of performing his authenticity. He just lives it effortlessly and it shows. Take a look at this example.
I've been there. I had to fucking pay rent. Every night I would think if I didn't wake up tomorrow, I would be okay with it. And I don't want that for anybody. I get it.
Most people can smell inauthenticity a mile away. We're just wired like that. And I'm sure you can think of many times where your spidey senses were tingling when you felt like something was off with somebody. But at the same time, let's not take this term authenticity overboard. Like if your authenticity means you're going to be picking your nose and stuff, or you're walking around at home in your boxer shorts, there's a difference between being real and being careless. And when I first came across Alex in 2021, he had a few thousand subs on YouTube. He was dishing out business advice like his life depended on it. And it made me lean in. This was unheard of in the business world. People would be charging thousands for this sort of information. Like, how is he giving all of this away for free? And stay with me because later in this video, I'm going to break down why this level of giving is actually a magnetism trigger and how you can use it to make people lean into your brand the same way. But in addition to that, what actually stood out to me the most is the way that he showed up for his people. Alex spent time building his character before he amplified his content, and his magnetism was earned through his evidence that was built on his mission, his reason, his why. If you really want to unlock that level of magnetism as well, I have to talk about shadow work, as talked about by Dr. Carl Jung. Now, the shadow is a side that you try to hide. It holds the feelings, the fears, the impulses that you might think that you shouldn't show. And Carl Jung basically said that when you avoid this part, it ends up running the show from the background and not in a good way. Alex absolutely owns his shadow, and this allows his authenticity to be magnetic. I want you to understand this. We all wear a mask. So on one side, we've got our private self. This is our shadow self. But on the other side, we've got our public persona, what mask we wear in public. What I've noticed about Alex that adds to his magnetism is that there is a very small gap between his shadow self and his public self. his persona. For a lot of experts that I work with, that gap can be huge, and on paper they look successful, they look put together, but privately they're exhausted from performing a version of themselves that isn't even real. Shrinking that gap is one of the most powerful things that you can do for your brand and for your nervous system, one step at a time. This can be kind of interpreted as wearing your heart on your sleeve. Not doing this can literally cause so many problems, not just in your day-to-day with the people who you're close to, with the people who see you all the time, but obviously if you're building a personal brand, your audience, your people, this can potentially break you if you don't understand. And the truth is, most founders ignore their shadow, when in fact it needs to be embraced. It's not as scary as it sounds. People play this Dr. Jekyll, polishing the persona, I need to show up like this, I need to look like this, and then they hide the hide. Get it? We don't want to do that. But they hide the hide, and then they wonder why the shadow leaks as lies, as even self-sabotage, and so many other things that you end up holding yourself back with. Alex, on the other hand, he does the Bruce Banner thing, you can call it, the Incredible Hulk. He actually names the darker drives that he has. He talks about his anger, he talks about that he wants status, he wanted control, you know, there's even elements of greed, and even he speaks about his fears that he's had. He channels that into discipline, action, and just service to his audience. That's why the gap between who he is and how he shows up is fairly small. There's no repression, it's just integration. He owns his quirks, his impulses, his actions. You know, there's so many things, he's just so open about it. But the thing with Dr. Jekyll is that he hid it and he ended up paying big time. Banner owned it and won. That's why this thing about authenticity isn't just light. This is where people fall into this, you know, trying to please everyone thing. The thing with magnetism is you attract your people, but then in doing so, you're repelling the people who won't resonate with your message, and that's absolutely fine. Because when there's a big gap between the shadow and persona, you're gonna fall from grace, you're gonna fall flat on your face, and people sadly grab their popcorn and they watch as the disaster unfolds. It's entertainment for them. And the thing is, what you ignore actually grows in the shadow, and then when it comes out in the worst way possible, and it destroys your persona, and that would be a disaster, not just for your personal brand, but for your life in general. If you don't accept it, it's going to leak into the way you show up. So if you're angry, if you're upset or frustrated about something, and if you don't address that and you let that grow in the shadow, even though you've got an absolutely valid reason to feel like that. So if you are angry, address it, speak about it, just say it. That's why Alex never leaks energy online, because nothing in him is unowned. Let's look at how Alex has mastered his market. Not only is Alex living the you are your niche but 5 years ago ethos that I so strongly believe in, he knows exactly what his market wants and needs, and he shows up to give it to them wholeheartedly. The reason he knows what they need, firstly, is because he's been in their shoes. So we need to look at where he was and not where he is. Okay, so that means the problems that he's already overcome, not what he's working on right now, although he lets us into that also as well to a degree. Now for his audience though, he's the person who's climbed to the top of that hill and is holding his arm out to those at the bottom so that they can be pulled up as well. And this is exactly how I work with clients when we get to their niche. You know, we get clear on the hill that they've already climbed, a particular hill. Then we write their message to speak to who they were a few years ago before they climbed that hill. And that's when their content starts pulling in serious clients. Now we know his why. As we discussed earlier, his story was so rooted in the need to make money for status and, in his own words, to prove himself to his father, that he worked relentlessly to master making people say yes. Hence his first book, How to Make Offers So Good People Feel Stupid Saying No. And he always had his 0 to hero statements locked in, and he would tweak this depending on the season he was at. And he's probably going to continue to tweak this as he grows as well. Because and this goes back to what we've done before, so because he's actually taken time to understand himself, he now knows exactly what his niche's pain points are, and he unpacks and delivers immense value from his content to his books and beyond. He has uniquely positioned himself to serve them by simply being himself. I've been there, I've done that, I know how to help you. That's his stance. So there's no effort required there. It's just his clarity on his audience psychographics, not the demographics, that's created this cult following. And it's like a badge of honor for his audience to attend even his headquarters, for example. So he knows his niche, we've gathered that. But what further supercharges his niche mastery is a concept that I am huge on. It's about being a giver. And this alone has actually forced him to outperform himself, so that By him giving away everything for free, he knows he's going to be able to charge more and he's going to level up more as well, which is going to allow him to get to his financial goals quicker. Like I said, to outperform and to reach heights that would have otherwise been difficult to reach if you just stayed behind this paywall. Like, oh, if you want this information, you got to pay for it. The old play was inspired by Gary Vee's concept of jab, 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 right hook. The jabs being giving the value and the right hook being the ask. But what Alex did is he took this one step further into give, then ask, and then another step further saying give until they ask. I know it's not just about giving everything away for free and hoping money just appears. You need a plan, an understanding of how much to give versus how much to ask. So with my clients, we choose what's free, what people pay for, what starts a DM and what leads to a call. This is what I do for myself as well, because as a business owner, if you give with no plan, that's not magnetism, that's like shooting yourself in the foot. Another layer he's added to this is give in public and then ask in private. He's big on over giving value publicly so that people DM or comment and they feel like they owe you something because you've just given them so much information, and it's so visible the way that he's done this. He's not forcing the ask, he's worthy of the ask just because he's given so much value to his audience that when he does ask, he can rake it in big time. His asks pull more weight. So it's like a bank account. The more value you give, the more you increase your bank account. When you ask, you can imagine yourself depleting that bank account. I want you to think of it like this. Hold up your hand. Each finger is a piece of content. Now the first 4 fingers are pure value. Like these are things, these are your gives, like your organic content, your stories, your teachings, and your thumb is your ask, like your ad or your offer. So what I mean is when showing up in your market and being a magnetic force within it, give so much that they ask. And the moment you start asking too soon, that's when you limit yourself. That's where you limit your growth, which is absolutely fine. You can still make money doing this, but it's to the sacrifice that you're making for a bigger ask in future. And remember, the market rewards those who not only keep people in the market by adding value to it, but also expands that market too. And Alex does this really well. So if you're tired of forcing it, you need to adopt this model to overcome that. Now, I want to talk quickly about vision, mission, and values. This is another one of those layers that makes Alex so magnetic, because most founders fill out their mission statements and their values just to add it to a folder and maybe to their website that hardly ever sees the light of day. It's like an unimportant checkbox that just needs to be checked off. This means that they themselves don't have their North Star in front of them to remind them of their journey. And even worse is their team doesn't, and then their audience doesn't, their clients don't see, there's no feeling, there is literally hardly any pull. So what Alex and Layla actually do really well is to put their mission, vision, and values front and center so that everyone can see it.
Right here.
I noticed you have 3 like uniquely specific core values. But the most impressive part is it is clear it emanates throughout your team. How did you get that to like resonate with everyone who works here?
Not just the audience, the team, investors, clients, everybody who's associated with them gets this feeling and they understand these people are on a mission. And even in his recent Guinness World Record breaking book launch, he shares the reasons why what he's doing is so deeply important to him. It makes his audience feel included and part of his journey, and it gives them a purpose. It gives them a role in his mission. Just listen to the way he talks about this in his book launch.
I set this record, I set this goal because I wanted to. The idea of putting a book in every entrepreneur's hands in America was something that was really dear to me, because like everything I have is because of things I've learned and because of other people who decided to write it down. What was really crazy is that when I looked at the nonfiction book sales record, of the top 10, 9 of them are politicians. And I was like, how is it that the top 10 nonfiction books are all written by people who basically had state sponsoring, and the people who are paying those bills is us? We're the entrepreneurs. We're the ones doing it. And so I was like, man, one of us should get that. It's all of ours. I take this as all of ours. This is not mine. Like, I couldn't have done this without you, which is why I said that to begin with. It's like, how could I have you help me make this happen for everyone? So this is really a reward for you guys. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome.
And there's nothing more inspirational, to me at least, than watching somebody who's on an honest mission. This is how people don't feel like they're on the outside. It's like you're welcoming them into the fold. And when people are inside, that's when they buy. This is why people follow Alex. This is why he's so magnetic, not just for business, but for belonging as well. When you look at this, all magnetic market leaders share the same three things. They've got self-confidence, they've got self-awareness, and they've got vulnerability. They know who they are, they trust themselves to show it, and they're not afraid to be seen in the process. That's what makes them relatable and untouchable at the same time, is power with presence. So how do you take all of this and actually show up online for your people in an aligned way? This is one of those things that most people miss, and personally speaking, I've worked with many founders who've fallen into the same trap. Alex doesn't just post more, he posts with alignment. His content engine runs on his rhythm, not on pressure. Every piece that he creates is in sync with his energy, his mission, and the season of life that he's in right now. And that is exactly why I think that he can out-create everyone without burning out in the process. Now, one thing's clear, of course, Alex has got the ability to invest millions in a content engine that keeps content flowing, that not everyone has the capacity to afford. But you'd be surprised of the super simple systems and methods of doing this for hardly anything in comparison. And by the way, I've even filmed a walkthrough on how to set this up that I'll be posting soon, so that you can stay consistent and aligned without burning out, whether you're a solo founder or you've got a bigger team. That's one of the final layers of being magnetic. So creating from congruence, because when your message, your energy, and your systems align, content just stops feeling like a chore and it feels more like you're creating this movement, and it's fun. It starts becoming a channel. And that's how you build influence that sustains you. Now, I actually use this stuff in my own business and with my clients, and I want you to become a magnetic market leader in your own right, you know, in your own lane, for your own people, in a way that you can handle effortlessly for years. Now, I want to leave you with this one super heavy hitting snippet from Alex, which is why I think he is so magnetic, and it just reinforces the reason that I've created the Magnetic Founder Engine as well, because I want you to remember, if anything from this video, it starts with your story and it starts with your purpose.
If all your books, videos, and tweets were erased from the internet forever, and all you had was the next 60 seconds, what's the most useful thought you could leave to the world?
Figure out what you want, ignore the opinions of others, and do so much volume that it would be unreasonable that you would be unsuccessful.
So if this hit home and you want to go deeper, grab my free Know Thyself worksheet. I'll link the video here, you can grab it there. And what I want you, my fellow founder, is to stop chasing someone else's goals and start building a brand from who you really are, who you're actually meant to be. Because the thing is, acting from your truth is where freedom really lies. And if you feel like you're an invisible expert and you're done trying random tactics on top of, you know, feeling misaligned in your brand, there's also a link to book a magnetic founder call with me. It's there if you want it. We will basically map your brand, find the biggest blocks, and just see if building your magnetic founder engine together is the right next move. Anyway, stay blessed, take care, and thank you so much for watching this video. Bye bye.